the realization that we had grown up together.
Yeah.
We had spent the last 14 years together.
Yep.
And now we were just like, what is this? What is all of this? What are we doing here?
Hello guys, welcome back to the Two Latin Brothers podcast, the podcast where we talk about entertainment and our daily lives brought to you as day-by-day comedy. I'm Victor.
And I'm Adrian.
And if you haven't noticed yet, I'm very exhausted.
And we're in an echo chamber.
We are in an echo chamber. I want to do something for the next part of this episode, but I'm not really sure
if he's going to do it or not.
If I'm going to execute on that because it seems very, I don't know, out there.
Out there.
Something we've never done in video. It has been something we've done
in audio.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Moving on.
So how was your first week back at school?
Fine.
Fine.
Just
fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Nothing like groundbreaking. Nothing new. Nothing. No good anecdotal story. No.
Nah.
You got nothing.
No, I got nothing.
How's work?
It's moving. It's work.
Very insightful.
Oh yeah.
What is this right now?
This podcast, guys, is slowly becoming about me. No, I'm kidding.
This podcast is slowly becoming a 5-second update on where we are and where we stand and just how tired we actually are.
Welcome to the 5-sec update where we talk about
stop.
Our 5-second update. Thanks for coming. Bye.
I'm okay. I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm still present.
Yeah, realistically speaking, how my week's been.
Yeah.
I realize a lot of my courses are very marketing and sales and social media. And that's basically what I was doing.
Basically what he was doing.
In the summer.
This time. In this theater.
Okay, well, getting back to the point.
Adrian will realize his true path.
Is not being a voiceover.
It's being the Hokage.
The voice of reason. No,
I'll be your conscience.
Okay, whoa. You're no Jiminy, that's for sure.
No, I can be a Jiminy Cricket.
What was I gonna say?
Well, it's alright.
Okay, so nothing really big happened this week.
Yeah. It's just like...
I've just been like working and grinding away. Just kind of like getting like sorting stuff out. I mean, like I had one incident with the car insurance stuff that I had to sort out.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's been like, it's like a non-issue.
Yeah, really.
It's like, I need this document. I got the document. Here we go. Let's move on.
I'd say it's been interesting seeing for me, like I'm back in school, seeing the contrast between us. And the first year is still learning people's names and stuff like that.
Right,
It's interesting seeing new faces.
Always.
What
was it? Oh, okay. So here's something I can actually talk about.
Yeah.
So recently I ran into someone who I went to school with.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, it'd been a while. And just kind of like, I forgot what it was like to get updates on people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you casually run into people, but this, like, we were talking. Like, I ran into them, but, like, it was, like, nothing was planned. I just kind of, like, bumped into them.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go get coffee. And I was like, okay, sure, let's go get coffee.
Yeah.
And then we talked for, like, over an hour.
Yeah.
And I forgot what that was. Not that what it's like, but just the sense of, like, bumping into someone I haven't seen in a relatively long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of, like, like, when you have friends and you don't see them for a very long time?
When I have friends.
And you bump in... No, what I'm getting at is, you bump into them, and it's...
Yeah. It's like nothing ever happened in between. And it's just like, hey, how you doing?
Like, we're still, like it's odd.
The vibes are still the same,
Yeah.
still connecting. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of, like, catching up.
Exactly. It's very odd.
Yeah.
But I do think that for some people that works, and for others it doesn't.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, how they were saying how they ran into this. There's a girl who they went to school with, and that they saw in a class once, and they were like sitting like right behind her in the class, and she's like, I said hi, and she said hi, but that was it.
Wow.
She's like, we used to be like really really close, growing up.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, that's just life, right?
Right,
You
yeah.
grow up and your personality grows with you.
No, for sure. But I was saying how I feel like, for me anyway, I have a hard time. I guess the only way of really putting it is like letting go of my past friends. You know, friends from like long ago. Like, because I know, like, I have 2 friends that I'm positive if I were to run into them right now, I'd hit it off.
Yeah.
Like, really, really well. Like, and I'm talking like from like grade 2 or grade 3 friends.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'd run into them and be like, yo, how you been? How's it going? And I had that happen once where someone I was really close with in grade 4 moved away, and I ran into them again in like grade 10. So it'd been 6 years.
Yeah.
And we like caught up, and how you been? How's life? How's this? How's that? And you know, it was relatively odd, but at the same time, it was like, wow, like just like the shift in dynamic and stuff. And I mean, you've seen that before, where I run into people like, we'll be like at the mall or something, and they'll just like run up to me and be like, yo, how you been? What's this and that? But it's more or less just along the lines of like, for whatever reason in that moment in time, you know, I was there for them. I was a good person. I was a decent human at one point.
I wouldn't say you're a bad person now. Progressively through time, you were just like, now I'm a dirtbag.
Actually, I feel like I started off as a dirtbag and progressively got better.
I feel like I've always been... I'm friendly, but like, my own ego doesn't let me take...
Wait. Okay, wait. You mean to tell me that your own ego gets in the way?
Not that it gets in the way. I just like, I'm not a pushover kind of.
Okay, no.
So,
okay,
like,
look.
realistically...
But tell me this, okay?
Yeah.
And be honest. We're not gonna say names, but we're gonna be honest, okay? We're gonna drop some truths here. All right. So, when you were in high school.
No.
I haven't even.
No.
No, just listen. Let me finish, okay? When you were in high school, was there ever a person you hung out with, just for the sheer entertainment of it? Not because you were like, I'm like friends with this, like I'm not buddy with this person. It's just they say some stuff that's entertaining. So like I would hang out with, like I'd entertain the hangout.
No, because they were just stupid. No offense.
Okay, so I did that.
Yeah,
I did that a lot. I
know.
hung out with quite a few people that it wasn't because like we were gonna be good friends, we were gonna be lifelong. There were certain moments in time where I would hang out with certain people because the entertainment of it, and then when I get bored of it, I would move on, and people would be like, "Why did he like leave the friend group?" And that wasn't it. Like
I was a floater in high school, so like I would be with multiple different groups.
Bro,
there was times where I just didn't want to talk to anybody, so I just be by myself.
Oh, of course.
Like, I don't care for anybody right now. Not that I didn't care for anybody. It's just like sometimes you need alone time.
Look, I spent a lot of time in the library.
I don't think I ever spent time in the library properly, unless it was for class.
Okay, well, that says a lot. But
actually, one time.
One time, okay.
One time with like 2 other people, and that was it.
But no, okay, what I'm getting at is like when I was in, I want to say grade 11, I did a lot of floating. Like I hung out with, my age. I feel like I hung out with like.
I tend to get along with people.
Like I was hanging out with the people in my grade, but then progressively, like I stopped hanging out with them, and I noticed a lot of things. I don't know. I noticed little things that I didn't like in the friend group, and so I kind of like moved away from like my own age group, and then I started hanging out with people younger than me. And then I kind of like progressively moved into another group, and then after that,
I got exposure to like every group.
Yeah, I mean,
at least for a little bit.
No, but I think the more I hung out with certain people, I got to see a lot of different perspectives and personalities. And I remember one time I was on my spare, and I sat down in the library next to this girl who. We had like one-off conversations. Yeah. Like because we had classes together, like we did like an in-class assignment or something together. But it was like, a group of like 5 other people, right? We're there, so like maybe she'd comment or something. That was like the only time we ever interacted with each other. And I was sitting there, and our music teacher like popped by. Yeah. And like we started like joking around and cracking jokes, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?"
I kind of love when that happens, when there's someone that you've seen consistently.
Yeah.
and you never really talk to them,
and then
you just kind of click,
yeah,
and then you have that one moment where it's just like that's a fun time,
yeah,
and then like you just kind of go your own ways again. It's
yeah,
just, I love that.
And then you like
because like
there's
never happened. Like I don't have to feel invested.
Yeah.
To that, and that's what's fantastic.
Yeah.
That like I know I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't have to be invested in this friendship.
Right.
And like that's it.
Yeah.
That's
it was just like this little moment in time, and then that was it.
Yeah.
But it is odd, right? Because then you know the next day I go to class and
it's two separate people.
Yeah, two different right. So and there were moments where I can't remember. Like I'd see, especially when I was younger, I'd see people sitting alone. I'd go sit down next to them. Yeah. Especially in the hallways, like you see people alone. I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Or "What's going on?" You know.
Yeah.
Like, and I was always, not to say that I was always like that, but as I got older, I became more and more like that.
Yeah.
Or if I see someone alone, I'll go in and check it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see. I think something just got my eye.
That's tough.
Just to see how they're doing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like. I'm checking their like well-being. Sometimes, you know.
I mean, sometimes you can just tell when people are in distress
and they're down,
and it's just like it's not my job to like bring you happiness, or anything. It's more like I got time.
No, in my case, it was more like
see that's where my ego comes in.
Right,
I got time.
I guess, but for me, it was more like, it's more like bringing awareness to the fact that hey, look. If you want to talk, there's somebody around.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it gives the person perspective of like...
Someone's paying attention.
We can see you.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did that a lot. And there were instances where I feel like they didn't catch on. And I bet you even now when they look back on it, they still won't see it like that. They'll be like, I was just some annoying guy who was like, I was trying to be alone and hang out by myself. Yeah. And this random guy showed up, right?
I mean, because there are instances where people they do have a friend group, they just chose to hang out alone for that one time.
For sure. But there was I remember this person.
Yeah.
As I know if I say who they are, it'll be like, no, there was this person who I remember very distinctly. There was a moment in time where they spent a lot of time alone. Mm-hmm. And it was like a thing with their friend group, that like some like fallout that they had.
Yeah.
And so they were alone a lot of the time. And so I would like every other week I would like check in on them when I'd see them sitting alone, like, hey, how are things? You know, like, what are you reading? And then I discovered that we had both read the same series of books, or she was reading it, and I had already finished it.
I mean, like I find. Like, when you find a common ground, that's it.
It's like, easy to have a conversation.
It's easy to have a conversation.
For sure.
I mean, like, if I see someone in distress or if I just see somebody alone, it's just like, I like being alone, but, you know, I wouldn't mind having somebody there.
Most of the times, I think I'm alone just because I want to be alone. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason. I just... Like, I don't mind being alone.
Yeah, but you can read when other people are alone or like are being like if I hear somebody crying in the other room, like I don't know if it's just like a Latino character, like I can't leave that alone.
Yeah, I have
to figure out if someone is crying, I want to help them stop crying.
Right. Yeah. No, I had that instance when I was in grade 9.
Yeah.
One time I went to the washroom and I walked past the girls' washroom and I could hear someone crying in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to, because I can't walk into the girls' washroom.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like hovered around outside and the principal walked by and I'm like, okay, if I tell the principal, but then they don't want, like the adults to know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's also not my position to do that.
It's an invasion on whatever is going on. And they might not want everybody.
Exactly. So I was like. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, it's just, I came to the washroom with a friend. I'm just waiting for them to come out. Yeah. And he goes, oh, okay, whatever. And he like walks away and he goes into the office. And then eventually she comes out and she's like she was, I didn't know who she was. And later on I found out she was like in grade 11 or something like that. Yeah. I was in grade 9 and like her eyes are like all red and she'd been crying a lot. And I go, hey, are you okay? And she goes, excuse me. I'm like, I kind of hurt you. I'm like, I'm just, making sure you're okay. And she like snapped at me and goes, yeah, I'm fine. And she like stormed off. And then I ran into her like a day later during lunch. And she's like, hey, sorry about yesterday.
Yeah, it's like, because in the moment when your emotions are controlling what you're doing.
They're like, you're highly emotionally driven. Also because you're like 16 years old. You have like no control.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things. But later on, we had a conversation about it. And it was like she found out that like her boyfriend had been cheating on her, and it was like a whole thing.
Dirtbag.
But you also just destroyed her hair. And
this is the problem. Yeah, I need a haircut. This is what this is telling me. I finally need a haircut.
what was I saying?
Anyways.
Right. So she had like she caught her boyfriend cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And that had been like the whole thing, and we talked about it, right? And then I started spending a lot of time with her and stuff, and then she kind of joined my social group, sort of, and then she kind of like started hanging out with her own grade again, and it was like things kind of like fix themselves on their own.
Yeah.
But it is one of those, especially when you're, I feel like when you're that young. Because that wasn't that long ago. That was like 4 years ago for you. But when you're that young, it's easy to be. Not to say manipulated, but you kind of like fall into this.
That's toxic. Pause.
You get manipulated by your own emotions.
Yeah.
Because you become very emotionally driven and you let that control you as opposed to...
You let your emotions dictate your day, realistically.
Your reactions, your feelings, everything.
Your day.
Yeah, so basically...
Because like if I feel happy, I'm going to do everything I can for school to go great. If I'm feeling down, I'm going to do everything I can to make it dreadful.
There was this girl in high school. I never saw her sad. Not once.
Good.
Not one. It got to the point where I remember, I remember when I was like leaving, because she was, I think, a couple of years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, I just want to tell you, I've never seen you sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like down or depressed or just like out of it. You're just always joyful.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
And then I left. But it was one of those things where, you kind of figure out, well, they figured it's obviously something out.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to be positive every day moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I feel like it's just at that age, there's no real control
over what's
going on. Like, and you can't blame them either for it, 'cause it's just natural.
Yeah. And you also,
and
the other
when
thing
you
too
reach adulthood too,
but you're also finding yourself, right?
Yeah. When
like
you reach
a lot
adult,
of things that a lot of the things that are happening in that moment
yeah,
are usually define your adult life.
Oh yeah.
So
no, and that's basically what I was gonna segue to is how when you're an adult, you basically collect these emotions, right? And then you just have those days where they just sink out,
mm-hmm.
And you just have those days where you're just like, I'm gonna be this person today.
I'm gonna hate the world and watch it burn.
No, I can't do that. Not again.
Whoa. Rewind. Stop. Anyway, we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Two Latin Brothers Podcast. You thought there wouldn't be a commercial, but there is. So make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you guys right now.
All right. And we're back.
You're back.
We are back. So high school. Quite an adventure.
I don't know.
And you realize the disconnections
It's
when you move to college.
Okay, be honest. How many people? Okay, since you left high school.
Since I've left high school.
Without planning to see these people.
Without planning to see these people.
How many people do you think you've seen?
In total? Like in the grand scheme of things, after high school?
Yeah. That you didn't plan to meet up with.
4. 5. Like 5?
5. Wow.
Like 5 without, like, and actually talking to them. Because if it's just like I've seen, then it's way more.
That you actually had a conversation.
Yeah. Like 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can tell right now.
Yeah.
Since I left high school.
Yeah.
It's quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
It's been like 7 years.
Yeah.
The amount of people I've seen. I'd say I've seen more people from when I was in elementary school than when I was in high school.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Which is kind of a crazy thought because there were only a few people that I went to high school with that I also went to elementary school with.
Yeah.
But I attribute the memory of me going to elementary school with them more than with the one I went to high school with them because when I was in high school, I never really interacted with them.
Mm.
Even though they were part of my graduating class.
Mm.
It's like how
Totally almost just not fall asleep just there. Whoa, that was freaky.
No, what was I gonna say? Okay, so when I graduate, so for those who don't know, in Canada, you graduate in senior kindergarten.
In senior kindergarten.
When you start grade 1, and then you graduate again in grade 6.
He's doing this for all.
You go from kindergarten to grade 1, from grade 6 to grade 7 you graduate.
I'm sorry, I just realized I basically started making you do the Wednesday dance.
Yeah. Anyway, and then after that you graduate again in grade 8.
Okay.
So there's kindergarten,
I don't know why I just said okay. I went through it.
kindergarten, grade 6, grade 8, and then grade 12. There's 4 graduations you go through.
No. Kindergarten.
Yeah. Grade
to 1.
Yeah, to 6.
6
to 7. And then grade 8 you graduate again.
6 to 7, I don't really count that one.
Anyway, you graduate there, and then you graduate again from 6 to 7. And then from grade 8 to high school, and then in high school you graduate again. Yeah. That's 4 graduations you partake in.
Yeah, so and then the one from college.
Okay, yeah, then I was gonna get to that.
Yeah.
But the reason this is important is because, and I'm gonna reach out to this person, see if I can get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I went to school with this one guy.
Just one guy?
No, I said with this
That's
one.
a tough school.
With this one guy. We sat next to each other every time we graduated.
Yeah.
Because of the way our last names lined up. And we were graduating from high school.
Yeah.
And we're about to line up to get diplomas and stuff. They're about to call our names. And he turns and looks at me and he goes, "It's been fun graduating next to you."
Yeah.
And I turn looking back at him and I go,
"Yeah."
I go, "It's been fun graduating next to you." And he goes, he's like, "You realize every time we've graduated, we've been next to each other."
Yeah.
And I go, "Dang, that's right." And then he's like, "This is the last time we're going to do this together."
Yeah.
And I had like this whole moment of realization where, he was going to go off and do his own thing.
Yeah.
I was going to go off and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And we were never going to graduate again. And it hit me so much harder than I thought it would, because it was like the realization that we had grown up together.
Yeah.
We had spent the last 14 years together.
Yep.
And now we were just like, what is this? What is all of this? What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was pretty crazy. And then I remember, I got called up first, and he went up after me. And then when we get down, he was like, I almost tripped up the stairs. And then I was like, yeah, I know. And then, anyway, afterwards, he went with his friend group and he took photos, and then I went with my friend group and we got photos. But it was rather interesting to live that moment where it wasn't me acknowledging it, it was someone else acknowledging it. Yeah. And I hadn't realized it until he said it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is
crazy.
Yeah. And then I'm just sitting there now waiting for them to call me, like
this is the last time I'm going to call my name and I'm going to be sitting beside this guy.
Yeah. It hit me so much harder, and I had a good 5 minutes of reflection on it.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking back, and I remember when we graduated from grade 6, so I graduated from grade 8.
You see, I didn't really have I didn't have a moment like that, because every year I basically graduated beside someone completely different.
Yeah.
And when I was graduating, my thought was, because I didn't have a high school graduation because of COVID.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I didn't have the whole sit, grab a diploma and stuff like that. But I can remember grade 8 graduation clearly.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a reflection. I was just like, all right, where's summer?
I was there. You know what's funny? I was at every graduation after mine for grade 8.
Yeah.
And then after yours, I never went back. It's kind of crazy. But I do think, because if you're wondering, I did a lot of volunteer work in the elementary school that we went to, so that's why. If you're wondering, that's weird, why do you keep showing up?
Yeah.
I was a part of the staff helping out run the thing. But it definitely was rather interesting, I'd say. Just having, knowing someone that long, and then, how do I put it? Because you know how sometimes you dwell on stuff like that?
Yeah.
And they're words that are never said out loud.
Yep.
And just thoughts you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
But I've known this person so long.
Yep.
And we're never gonna acknowledge it.
Yep.
But subconsciously, I totally have.
Yep.
But then they do it for you.
Yep.
It's a different feel, because you're I've had this thought before.
Yeah.
I've had this thought.
But you're just verbalizing it now.
They're verbalizing it for me.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments.
Yeah. I know
And-
exactly what that's like.
So it's definitely it was definitely interesting. But I do think the more I guess especially amongst guys, we don't like to acknowledge stuff like that.
Yeah. Because it shows emotions and stuff like
And
that.
it really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't
Yeah, I
expecting-
realized my hair is like being hair.
This is gonna be such a great episode. No, but I definitely do think it is just stop.
Cowlick.
What was I saying? No, it definitely is challenging amongst guys to acknowledge stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think like, especially
Because we don't like to be sappy.
no, but I mean between
Sappy is an nice feeling.
no, but I mean like between us.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes we're both even hesitant sometimes to express certain things.
Certain emotions, certain things that we think but we don't want to say.
Exactly. But I do think that it's also, I think it has to do with our secondary culture, our Latino side of our culture.
It's gotta be macho. You know?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. But
I don't cry like twice a year.
So statistically, it's like 10 times. But I do think that has influenced us a lot. Not only that, I think even amongst males in Canada, like normal Canadian men, do go through this sort of like, I gotta put a restraint on the emotions.
Yep.
And you don't really portray certain emotions because of, you kind of have two modes. Or no, I'd say three modes.
Okay.
Like bored, happy, and just angry. That's it. That's all. Like,
But I'm always angry.
no, but I mean like outwards. That's all we we show. We don't show depression. Like, I mean, there are some guys who like you talk to them and they radiate depression. But
See, I'm not depressed. I'm just extremely exhausted. And a lot of people confuse that, and they're like, "I'm depressed." I'm like, "No, you're just tired. Go to sleep."
go take a nap. You'll feel
Yeah.
better. Or have a cup of water. But it's definitely those three things. Where it's very present
Yeah.
in our society, and it's rare to just. I feel like some people struggle being alone with their own thoughts. They always need to have someone around
Yeah.
because
That's why meditation is so good for people. Because it's practicing. It's basically practicing and training yourself to be alone.
but
with
for
your
some people
thoughts.
it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it's self-harming.
It's self-harm.
No, it's self-harming because they start thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And then they start hyper-analyzing themselves.
Right.
They fall into the trap of ifs.
Yeah.
If I would have done that, then this would have happened. And then I wouldn't have had to deal with this.
Right.
And that's the biggest trap. What you should be learning is, now that I've done this, in the future, now that I know of that, I can do this.
Okay, so listen to this.
It has to be progressive, not digressive.
Okay, so listen to this. Okay,
Yeah.
so at work.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
For those who don't know, I work with.
A work story.
I work with children.
With niños.
And this past week,
Yeah.
there was this incident where this girl, she was saying how she wasn't pretty and she wasn't,
Yeah, I'm ugly. It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I hear her saying this about herself, and I go, "Don't say that. You should never say that."
Yeah. Say words of affirmation.
And she goes, and this, mind you, 10-year-old girl. She,
Yeah.
she's already, her self-image is already like damaged, and she hasn't even
Thanks to media.
and she hasn't even reached, like proper adulthood yet.
Yeah.
And she's already she already has this horrible image of herself.
Yeah.
And I go, don't do that. Don't say that about yourself.
No.
And then I go, look, you need to wake up every morning, and as soon as you wake up, go to the washroom. And she goes, well, why am I?
No, that's weird.
No, but wait, listen. This is kind of funny. I'm like, go to the washroom. I'm like, look in the mirror. Whatever you see in the mirror,
Whatever you see in the mirror.
that's who you are.
Yeah.
And she goes, but I look dead. I haven't put makeup on. I look disheveled.
How old is this kid?
She's 10. No, you finish. But that is the average age for some girls to start using makeup and all that stuff. But what I was gonna say is when you're in the mirror just look at yourself and say, I am beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, oh, I could never do that. And I go, why not? I go, there's nobody there with you. It's just you. Who's going to say no?
Me.
And she's like, me, I can say, I'm like, no. You got to stop thinking like that.
Yeah.
And she had like this like moment of like she was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look, let's do it enough times. And you'll see what the rest of the world sees in you.
Yeah.
And she kind of like brushed it off, and she kind of just like walked away.
Yeah.
And then my boss walks over, and she goes, I loved that. That whole interaction was just like, what? I'm like, I know, and I stole all of it. And she goes, what? I'm like, I stole that entire thing, word for word, from my mother.
Yeah.
And she goes, what? I'm like, yeah, my mom used to say it to my sister growing up.
Yeah.
All the time, like, don't let the world control your image of yourself.
Yeah.
Because the image of the way you see yourself is how the rest of the world will see you.
Yeah.
So if you think you're a beautiful, confident person, that is how the world will see you.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre and it's really odd, but it's just
and
the
like
way
realistically,
and it also has to do with the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So it was very, very interesting. And then so my boss goes, wow, she's like, I need to meet your mom.
Yeah. What I find is like, not to mention like, and at that age, it's mainly like what you see from like your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have siblings, you kind of pick up that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you're like a teenager, I find that that's when it's really dangerous. For yourself.
Yeah.
When you start hating on yourself, like don't hate on yourself, especially as a teenager. Your self-image, you start caring about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's this select few like, I don't know. They could care less.
I will come
but
with this.
when you do care, and like, for example, like body, like your body not looking a specific way.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of girls and some young men tend to like struggle with.
Right. Yeah.
And realistically, it's like you shouldn't be hyper fixating on those small things. Because your body hasn't even settled to what it's going to look like.
Right. And
what you can do when you're in that age is simply develop and get used to healthy habits.
Right, yeah.
So that way when you are in a position to, do something for yourself, you can execute it.
Well, I also think that it's just unfortunate that we put so much of an emphasis on certain things in our society.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, and it's trickling down to like the younger and younger age groups.
Yeah.
And so, a 10-year-old now is objectifying themselves in a way a teenager would.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? You should not be doing this at all, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, teenagers shouldn't be doing it at all.
Right, but
to begin with.
Yeah, but I feel like as a teenager, it's a little different because, especially like as a 16, like if you're a young 16-year-old girl, your looks are basically your entire validation.
Well,
because of your social standing in the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I look back at it and I'm like, all the like really pretty girls were like super popular, not because of who they were, but because of their looks.
Yeah,
that was it. Like that was the social standing. That was what it was.
Yeah,
and it sucks, but that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and there were the odd, quirky person who they were really popular, not because of their looks, but because they were confident in their self-being, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of two things that you see kind of play out. But I wanted to be in the shadow, and I never got that chance. But trying to live in obscurity. But it is definitely interesting to see. I guess how it plays out later on in life. Because with that one, I run into those people. Like the super popular people. They're.
I mean, like it's so
they're living average to normal lives.
Yeah.
Like they didn't not to say that they didn't accomplish anything great.
Yeah.
But the quiet guy who never said a word to anybody. He's
either a criminal now or probably the smartest guy you've ever met.
He's becoming a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Like he's the smartest person I will probably ever come in contact with.
Yeah.
But but not to say that there aren't smart people, other smart people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that guy obviously achieved way more successfully from that viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, I'm not in a position to say, I could have achieved more because I'm definitely trying not to achieve more. But it's kind of interesting. I feel when you get to college or university, you kind of get a taste of the real world, where all of that just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like everything
there's
you
no
thought,
friend groups.
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
everything
drama,
everything you thought was important in high school ceases to exist.
Yeah.
Moving forward. And what's really interesting
And
is,
what a lot of teenagers aren't told is that shift happens.
Yeah.
And if a lot of teenagers were aware of that shift,
right,
they would care less about it.
Also, the fact that most of your friend groups in college and university aren't a friend group.
Yeah.
They're situational friends.
Yep.
And most of them are there just so they can have someone to network with when they're done.
Yeah.
Like the amount of phone numbers I have in my phone.
Yeah.
Of just guys who are like, we had like 1 or 2 conversations, like, yo, well, what's your number? I never know. Right?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, sure, whatever. Give them my number, and then it's like, I have a list of, I think, something like 20 people who I only have their number for networking reasons. Yeah. Like, if one day I need a guy who can do this, like, I just call his number. Like, yo, is it still you?
You still doing this?
You still, what's up? But it's definitely, it's one of those things, right? And it's baffling to me that's the culture.
Yeah.
In these institutions.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Because
it makes no
times
sense.
you only make like 1 or 2, 3. Like the max is like 4.
If you make more than 4 friends in university and y'all are like super, super tight,
you've achieved friends.
That's impressive. I mean,
you've achieved the show Friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. They weren't even college friends. But it's definitely interesting to see that, of course. I feel like we've overtalked.
We've overstayed our welcome in your guys' brains. so we're gonna wrap this up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Everything is in the description, whether it be up, down, left, or right. Make sure to share with your grandmother, share with your rooster, share with the donkey, share with the chinchilla, share with your librarian. I don't care. Share with everybody. And just share with everybody and everything. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Totally did not know.